Welcome to Prana Talk TV. This is Elitom El-amin.
And Shana Dean.
Enjoy the show.
Hi, Elitom. How are you today?
Oh, wondrous, a wonderful world. And it's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. And what a beautiful sky you have, and the water and the rocks.
Oh, man. All of these elements that we're under.
Yeah.
All of them we're under. And they're doing a lot more than we realize. Just for us living in this.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Definitely, yeah. I'm very close to the ocean right now, so I can hear the ocean from my windows here, and I'm really close to the redwoods, and I feel the energy so much, and it's really amazing to be in such a natural environment.
See, that's one thing about being on this path. You start appreciating the environment now. You became sensitive to it. Because there's a lot of people, they're not sensitive to the energies that's going on around them. And that's the whole idea about the breatharian journey. When you open it up that awareness and start becoming sensitive to it, even though it's affecting you before, now it has a bigger effect because your mind and your belief system do have the tendency to block or lower the energy how it's affecting you also, because we're creators.
Right, and the food blocks it too. Like the more you have in your digestive system makes a difference.
Exactly. That's why one thing, even though everybody is on a kick that, you know, what you put in your body, but the real old method was the quantity. That's what it's all about. Eat less, live longer. Because I've even been to, you know, and I promote what you put in your body. Nobody's arguing that. However, I've been to some of the communities too, even though they're not eating the lower density foods, they're still eating overabundant of the other foods that's still causing health effects that don't have to be there. So getting used to these frequencies again and get to loving it, and your body by its nature will start, what? Because it is your consciousness. It will start harnessing it and using it at a higher level. Everybody's already doing it. So on one level, everybody is a breatharian. We might as well get it out there. You're already connected to everything, but this is now levels and degrees of awareness. Now, me and you was talking about Yogananda in his book, Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yeah,
now, tell me what you did.
This one too.
Oh, what's that title?
How to Achieve Glowing Health and Vitality. I don't know if it's coming off backwards or not, but.
Right. And share some of the things he's basically talking about, because I like how me and you share things back and forth, but yeah, go ahead, it's your turn.
Well, there's so many things. First of all, he has self-realization lessons through SRF, which is the Self-Realization Foundation, and I've taken a lot of those courses. And he has a whole series of things he takes people through. He has how to live lifestyle classes and schools that he actually teaches children in India. And it's basically the breatharian path. It involves pranayama, which is breath work. It involves yoga. And it also, he teaches something called energization exercises, where you combine physical movement with breath work to build the prana in the body.
Right. And you said the key words, this is yoga.
Right.
See, yoga just means what? Union with the divine.
That's right.
But there's many techniques out there, but you're getting yourself in union with, well, let's use other words, where they say the macrocosm and the microcosm is one. You are one with the universe, but now it's time to make it a realization. Just don't look at that word breatharian. Even though we use that word or living on prana, people still get caught just on the food part. But he got these different techniques, you know, dealing with that foundation you're dealing with. It's a mental thing, removing blockages.
Yes, and it's the whole lifestyle. And what I love about breatharianism is it basically is the yogic path repackaged for the Western mind. And it's this new thing over here, right? But it's really been around forever. And not just in India, of course, it's been around in other countries. Even the Catholic saints have been known to be breatharians. They're not called that, right? But there are some saints like Catherine of Siena, for example. She lived off only the Holy Eucharist. That was it. And that was just straight out of devotion and a complete union with God and the divine. So it's in every religion around the world. And it really is a lifestyle. And the yoga actually doesn't just mean the asanas, right? The position that you're in. Yoga is the whole package. Yoga
the whole package.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It's the breath work. It's the energy cultivation. It's eating lighter, you know.
The way you think, the way you talk.
Yes.
It goes deep. And when they say your life becomes yoga, you get so used to what? Knowing what position your body in to get the highest energy, even the way you sit, even the way you sleep. Now, I know this seems like a lot, but it's not. When you get used to it, it becomes your new identity.
Exactly. And you start tuning your body like a tuning fork, like an antenna, and you realize, like, in your meditations, wow, they are so much more powerful when my spine is straight, you know,
right,
versus bent over. So you start noticing these little things.
Right. And I'm glad you said that. Tuning your body like a tuning fork. You're so in tune with yourself all the time. That's when life becomes yoga, because you should know how you feel all the time. Right. See, some people, when they get a stroke or get high blood pressure and stuff, and it hit them real hard, on one level, they should have been felt that coming. But when you're out of tune, you didn't feel it coming. So usually a person goes to the hospital when there's a problem and it surfaces, but it already been there. When you get on a breatharian path, you can correct it before that even manifests. You already felt it coming on. You felt heavy. You felt where the blockage was. So this is a good avenue that we're on all together.
Yeah, and it also sharpens your intuition. So you get these little intuitive hits if something's kind of not quite right within your own body or your environment.
Right. Now there's something I want to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
No, please go.
And that's dealing with these techniques, like you were saying, there's many of them out there, but there's a term that they use called shadow work. And shadow work is basically saying the dark aspect of ourselves that all of us have, or the serpent is in everybody, but don't look at it as evil. All it means is energy. All of us have this energy in us, but it's how you use it. You understand? Because we are the creators on how we use these energies. But the shadow self deals with the ignorant part of us, that we're learning how to use these energies. So we're clearing up these blockages, clearing up this past stuff, clearing up these past traumas. And I did a message not too long ago about reincarnation. And follow me what I'm saying. Don't get caught up so much if you've been someone somewhere else, but you do have the information that's given from all your ancestors to where you at now. Because being in his body, somebody stayed alive long enough to give birth for you to be here now. That's what it boils down to. So there is a thing called epigenetics, where a great grandmother could have been going through something that's affecting you health-wise right now. You're having flashes and memories of that. But the good thing about it, dealing with your shadow self, is there. You can remove it because energy's allowed to move. So not only are you freeing up yourself in this lifetime, you have the power also to free up past ancestors, past lives that were lived. You understand? Because it's all one package. This is awesome.
That's right. As you clear yourself in this life, you clear yourself in other lives as well. And that's another thing Yogananda talked about. He says, when you're in a state of purity, when you're totally in meditation, you have no karma. Because we're trained to believe that we have karma. We're either causing good karma or bad karma. And it's like this wheel that you can never get off of, right? You always are creating karma. But if you're in that clear, high conscious state, no, you are neutral and in that higher realm where it's all still.
I'm glad how you brought that up. Oh man, see, we right on tune. Now listen to what you said. When you're in a state of meditation and you're in that pure state, there is no karma. So we're saying basically you just became one with the light. The light takes care of itself. That's the one that's cleaning up the package. But when you're dealing with your shadow self, now listen to the shadow. Now right here, I'm on a day where once the sun hit me, I could cast the shadow off my body. But the shadow is cast, it's produced from my body. Now listen at this, the body produces it. Nobody's arguing that. But it's produced because the body, the rays of light is touching it. So it takes the rays of light to reveal your shadow to you, to reveal your shadow self. So that's why your shadow self actually becomes the teacher. You learn from it and you got the power to remove it instead of saying it's you. So when you're on the spiritual journey, and the more you get to what? Relieving or getting rid of that shadow self or those karmas that everybody think they're stuck into this rat wheel, through meditation, when you're in the light, because you are light. All we are is atoms that to make this physical body, it slowed itself down to make physical matter. But when you start getting off of food, thinking right, thinking positive, living this other lifestyle, the molecules in your body actually start vibrating higher. Because ain't everybody in this new movement talking about raising your frequency and your vibration?
I love it. And I love what you say, that the more you're in the light, the more you see the shadows. And it's so true. Not only do you see it, but you're able to work with it and burn it out really quickly and easily. You're able to process it just by acknowledging it and sitting with it. And really, this path is about becoming a master energy worker. You know, it really is. So once you start tapping in those higher, realms of energy, the higher dimensions, when your meditations, you can work through it so much more easily. You don't have to spend years and years and years in therapy and whatever else, tapping and whatever else you're doing. Not to say those things aren't good, but you can burn through things much more quickly and more effectively, which aligns you to your higher consciousness, which is what we're all striving for, is really uniting to the light, uniting to God, to the divine, because that's what we really are. So we're actually stepping more into our fullness, into who we really are.
Absolutely. And we started off this conversation talking about the areas that we're located at now. You started talking about, like, you in California and you can hear the ocean in the background, and you just moved to a new location where you love the nature. And then I'm sitting here in India by the Arabian Sea and just sitting here. But even on these levels, your environment means a lot on this lifestyle. Isn't this something? Because even science is telling you that this is giving off negative ions, which is a high frequency ion, and our body's in touch with it. So it's also cleaning not only your physical body, cleaning your blood flow, opening up the channels. Keep in mind that your body is the way you think. It started affecting the way you think. So that's why I was just telling some woman who was waking up in depression and all this other stuff, start taking a walk every day. Force yourself to get up in the morning before you start drooling on those things and start walking towards the beach side. Now, first 3 days, she said it was something, waking up to break that pattern. But after that, she's seen what her thought process changed throughout the day. And this is what we're talking about. So meditation, I know we got those pictures with somebody sitting in a full lotus somewhere, for hours and hours. But we got to keep in mind that this is a whole lifestyle thing. You might have to start out with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because you're not there yet. Get up to 20 minutes, you're charging up. But the rest of the day deals with where you're located, how you're thinking, what you're doing with yourself, how you're positioning yourself. Because like you said, we are what? Master energy workers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you mentioned the walking meditation, because that's really a nice meditation. There was a time in my life where I was having a really difficult time meditating because I had a lot of stress and a lot of stuff going on. So it was hard to quiet the mind. And so I would just go on walking meditations in nature and just be really focused on what I was looking at. There's no thoughts in the mind. You're just really noticing the environment around you. And that right there is a meditation. So don't think you always have to sit in silence, right? If you're just beginning or you're having a difficult time here or there. Meditation takes various forms. And some of the meditations that we use are energy cultivation meditations, which is where you're visualizing moving energy around in the body. And that's when you start really doing some good work. And I, especially as a Reiki, a Reiki person, Reiki master teacher that I am, the energy is my favorite.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And
now
I
listen
came,
at this.
oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say,
Go ahead.
I came to this path through Reiki, right? It was my years of Reiki that allowed me to build my ki, right? As in Reiki,
Right.
chi. So that was my path. And your path.
And I could see that, because just by you, when you start getting used to, you can harness energy like that and it's coming through your body, that usually wakes people up to this path.
Yeah.
So like how my son said, he was doing the Qigong, and once he felt that energy come through his hands and all of this, that was the curiosity. Wow, I'm working with my own energy. There's energy working through me. I'm connected to something here. Let's see how far this goes.
Yeah.
And then this is when we start tweaking up that other stuff, you know, the diet, and we start exercising and doing those walking meditations. Now look at that word meditation. It's such a loose word that I don't think a lot of people understand it either. But the beginning prefix of it is M-E-D-I. We got that word for medical. And that's why we say this is a health message. Sometimes a lot of people come to me and they're in a chronic situation and they just feel breatharianism. They hear that word, this is all or nothing, this is going to heal me. So they're focused on that because they're desperate now. But what I have to do is slow them up a little bit and say, this is a health path. You actually start getting healthier when you start getting in tune with nature, and that's where you start receiving more prana.
Exactly, exactly. And relaxing too. Like a lot of the yogis, you know, there are old sayings where people say, oh, if I meditate, will I be able to reach enlightenment in this life? You know, and the yogi will say, yes. And he said, well, if I try really hard, will I be able to reach enlightenment in this life? And the yogi's like, no.
Right. Try really hard.
Yeah, it's not about the angst and the trying. It's just the letting go and just being in that loving place. And the same thing when you're trying to heal yourself. It's, oh, I really want to heal myself. I got to do all this stuff. No, just breathe into it and just go into a state of balance, you know?
Right. And that's what the doctor says. When a person's sick and you're about to go home and get some rest. Relax. He's basically telling you to go meditate, whether if you realize it or not.
Right. Right. Yeah. Slow the body down. Yeah.
And all meditations, no matter if they're visualization, the different yogas, the different qigongs, they are dealing with some type of relaxation, being in a comfortable position, because it's the stress that's killing everybody.
Yeah.
See, what we're saying is food basically put a lot of stress on the body, especially the over accumulation of it. We're just shooting straight from the hip now.
It's true. And anyone who's ever cleaned up their diet will notice that let's say you take an item out of your diet that doesn't serve you anymore, right? Let's say it's gluten, or let's say it's meat or dairy, whatever it is. When you clean yourself up from that, and then if you were to return to it, you realize, oh my gosh, it really makes me sick. You really notice the symptoms. Well, the cleaner you go, the more that is. So if you move to a raw food diet and that's all you're eating, anything cooked you eat will make you feel sick. And when you start fasting and doing prolonged fast, or moving into pranic nourishment, or whatever stage you're in, and then you return to food and you realize, no, it just doesn't, you know, it gives you like a food hangover, and you realize, wow, all food,
right,
it is, the body really doesn't want it.
You just told the breatharian path just now.
Yeah.
You start feeling and weighing out for yourself how it feels when you eat certain things.
Right.
That's why at the beginning, just don't put tape on your mouth. Be a scientist. Be an experiment with your own vehicle. Don't go off of other people say. Go off of how you feel, what you're saying, and you're experimenting for yourself. You know that's going to change the way you feel. You know.
Yeah.
And then you start, if you overeat, you're going to wake up hungry the next day. That goes with the pattern. And don't get into binge eating. You know, you went out and you eating all this food, you just can't stop. And then you start setting in some temperance and all this other stuff. But start working with yourself and get the way you feel. And that's healing.
It is healing. And I'm glad you mentioned those things. So for example, a lot of people don't realize that the hunger pains that they have are really digestion pains, right? Of your stomach digesting. And that's why some people don't notice, some people do, but if you do eat a lot the night before, you will wake up really hungry and you think you're hungry, but you're not. You're just misreading the body.
You're misreading it.
You're misreading it. Yeah. And you said,
and that's what is, oh, go ahead.
You said a second point, but I can't remember what it was now. So we'll just continue. It'll come back.
And that's what it's all about. You said misreading the body. See, it's just like when I do a lot of traveling, there's languages all over the place. And there's this thing called a language barrier at times. It is very hard when you got this language barrier, these two people trying to communicate, and there it is. But we had, as humanity, a language barrier dealing with nature. It wasn't that nature wasn't talking. It talks all the time. It loves to talk. But we couldn't understand what it was saying. And our bodies is nature. But now coming into the breatharian path, you're actually learning a new language. And perfect practice made perfect. The more you stay into that language, the more you start, oh, I recognize that word. I recognize what they said. And pretty soon you would become fluent at it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good.
What I find for me in the pranic state, it feels like my body, my energy body is more porous, which means energy kind of flows in and out much more easily than it did. My body was more dense from eating food. So I'm far more aware of the energy of the environment around me. So right now I'm in a highly pranic state right now with the redwood forest and the ocean. I have so much nature. It's a small little town, so there's not a lot going on here but nature. And the feeling of that compared to being in the city is totally different, or being around
totally different
people. And you realize there are certain locations that will actually make you feel hungry, and other locations that will completely wipe your hunger away, where you have no hunger at all.
Right. Now, I'm glad you brought up environment, because people ask this all the time, and sometimes they'll bring up the situation that they're living in. Now, on one level, everything's energy, and you could be a breatharian everywhere. We got that memo. However, there's some environments that are more nutritious than others. There's some that will help you a whole lot better than others. Environment does play a big part of it. And even my son noticed it one time. I threw a retreat, and I was way up in Michigan, you know, in this retreat place, and he came from the city down there. Now, even though he had the breatharian knowledge, once he got up there, he said, now I know what you're talking about, Dad. I got a chance to see it or feel it for myself. Some environments are more nutritious than others. So that's why even when I lived in an urban city, I made it a point every once in a while. I was living there. This weekend, I'm going outside the city. This weekend, I'm going here. This weekend, I'm going camping. This weekend, I'm going to hang down at the water. So you start taking advantage of your environment, taking advantage of your situation and those energies, and you do have to put in some effort. Whole different ball game. Now, once you get stronger in the breatharian message, like right now, I'm in the city of Mumbai. Now, even though I'm at this beautiful Arabian Sea, you can see the big city right there. Now, where I'm at now, consciously, I can handle the energies. That's a whole nother ball game because you got used to the lifestyle. So there's also mastering, like when you're traveling, going different places, to keep your routine. There's a man here now that I just met. He loved to do physical working out, physical exercise. And he's about to start a blog for people who's traveling to keep their exercise routine going. Because it's easy to let go because you're on vacation, you overate, and then when you get back to your home again or back to your job, you'd have picked up all this weight instead of bettering yourself. So you do have to master, since you're energy moving, how to take and incorporate a lifestyle no matter where you at and take advantage of those energies.
Yes, and meditate and work your energy around so often that it becomes second nature to you. That's really important. So you find that even when you're not even conscious of it, that you're breathing in and out energy, and you're kind of working with the energies, even though you're not sitting down to do it. You want it to become you. You want to be that practice. And I always say the same thing to my Reiki students. You know, in the beginning, You have to mentally think, okay, I'm going to start the energy. But after a while, it just starts flowing naturally without even being aware of it. So that's the same thing here, you know? And that way you're always tuned in and you're always working with the energy and it's constant in your life. And that's how you're chronically nourished. And when you add the fasting to that, then you start realizing, whoa, okay, now I need less and less food. But you got to get that energy and that meditation established first, or as a foundation. I find that's the most helpful thing.
Right. Without a shadow of a doubt, because let's get into it now. Our physical bodies need a lot of energy to run. They need a lot. That's why people eating and they're overeating. The body is an energy being. So it requires a lot of energy to run. So to tap into these other sources, you got to understand that you're fueling up. And that's why it must become your lifestyle, because that's what you're living in that energy flow, because the body requires a lot. When you start losing that vibration of energy, it's going to go to the lower frequencies or the lower sources because it needs it real quick. So that's why meditation and all this stuff is a must for you to shift over.
Yeah. And now I remember the point you mentioned before that I had forgotten. You had talked about overeating, and sometimes overeating, and a lot of times, it's related to emotional eating, right? Based on whatever it is around your life. So you're responding to an emotion, whether it's anxiety or upset or whatever it is, and you're overeating that way. Well, if you have meditation, energy practices as the foundation, your emotions are so much more balanced and at ease. You don't have these big spikes. And if you do have those big spikes, something in your life is causing it, you can recognize it more easily and kind of shift your lifestyle a little bit so you have, you know, more balance. Create a lifestyle that's more conducive to the energy and to who you really are. Because if you're calm within yourself, generally you're going to find that the environment around you that you gravitate towards will also be calm and balanced. And that's a key part of this path. It's the whole lifestyle, and that's why the meditation, the energy, and all of that comes the emotions. You don't have the cravings, you're not overeating. Everything is just even and calm and balanced.
Now look at my shadow. It's being created. Now it's being produced by the body, but it's because I'm standing in the light. So that, again, with the meditation, you start relaxing. Automatically, when you start relaxing, this light is automatically going to start because there's energy channels going through us. And all energy runs a circuit, regardless. So when you feel itching, different pains in the body, that's the energy hitting that area. But don't be just moving from it. Learn to start relaxing into it because it's trying to heal you. It's breaking up those blockages, sort of like water. If you pour water down the hill, the water is going to look for the place of least resistance. That's the same way energy moves. So as it's going through our bodies, as we sit and relax into it in the light, the shadow self is revealing what needs to be taken care of. When you were talking about the emotional eating. So we don't got to worry about, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I need to work on. It will reveal itself, believe me.
Yeah.
Because that's your life, it's your journey.
Yeah, it'll come up. And it's great when it does, because then you can look at it and then it goes, you know, and it'll keep coming up until it goes.
Absolutely. And that's why your spirit self or your shadow self is the teacher. All the light is doing the cleaning. You're the teacher or your shadow self. Oh, this is good. So just like when Buddha was under the Bodhi tree and he reached enlightenment, all he did was sat there, and I'd say to people that he was doing vipassana meditation, I'm just throwing it a name, but he sat there, and just by sitting there, relaxing, automatically his past, those emotions started coming up. So that shows you right there, no matter who it is, when you sit with yourself, that stuff is automatically going to come up because it's not you. All it was an experience, a trauma, and energy loves to move. This is actually easier said than done. It's easier said given. So the breatharian message, like where I'm at now, I'll say, oh, it's easier. I don't know what y'all talking about. but then I had to ease up a little bit. It is a shocker if a person never put themselves or challenge themselves to what? Back away from the table. Go for a long period of time. Keep in mind, it was easy. But to explain it to people, I got to slow up and say, wait a minute. This is what we do till your body gets stronger. But the process itself, with the right knowledge, you don't give up and stay consistent, you will succeed.
Absolutely. And I want to mention too that, yes, Buddha sat underneath the tree, but guess what? He wasn't eating a lot of food under that tree either.
Right. Right.
So it's really important that when you start, obviously fasting is important, not just because you're training the body to eat less, but because it helps to detoxify the body. And going back to Yogananda, he says if you want to create more magnetism in the body, you have to get the toxins out of your body.
Right. Have to get the toxins out of your body. Bye. These are my friends from India.
Over there.
We're having a good time.
Love it. Yeah, he says you have to get the toxins out of your body. And so, of course, fasting, eating lighter. He also says, of course, letting go of meat. That meat ties you into the physical material.
Listen at this.
And we want to actually unite ourselves with our spiritual selves, not so much with the physical. Not to say that we want to forget that we have a body. We want to occupy our body more fully, but in kind of in spirit, like in the light, bringing in the light more into the physical form.
Right. And now keep in mind, Yogananda, he was in America like over 100 years ago. Over 100 years ago, coming to the West talking about this. And he actually said, because that's when America was really getting big on the Industrial Revolution, electricity was now on the scene. And he said, you got electricity going up your spinal cord. That right there shocked everybody. Wait a minute. I can see that new automobile we just made or the light bulb we just made to go in the house in my spinal cord. So that's when it changed the whole dynamic of the Western culture. Instead of looking for God outside, people start going inside. You mean that electricity, that power, that light is inside of me.
Yes. And he said more than electricity, he said God is found in your spine.
God is found in your spine. I'm just being nice.
That's a big statement. And so that's what Kriya Yoga is, right? Kriya Yoga is a form of energy moving. So in Kriya Yoga, you're running your energy with consciousness up and down your spine to activate and fill your body with prana. And that's where you find God.
Right. And this is all a breatharian journey. And we say this is the temple of God, right? We put it all together now. So if this is the temple, you're just taking on a breatharian journey, you're taking care of your body at a whole nother level when it starts sinking in. This is the house of God, the house of my being. Get this energy moving, get it flowing. You're more energized, more vitality. And disease and sickness cannot stay. It can't stay in the same house where that energy is moving and it's flowing. This is a whole nother ballgame. So this should really pick you up right there. Just to think the idea like that. No matter where you at, even if you're sick right now, feeling a certain way, if you're still in the land of the living, your feet is on the ground, that means the electricity or the spark of God is going through you right now, ready to go to work.
That's right. That's what prana is. That's prana right there. Yeah.
Right. It loves to work. That's the definition of energy. Yeah. The ability to do work.
Yeah, and I love Yogananda and a lot of, many other yogis that came to the United States because he calls it the science of meditation, because India's really gotten a good grasp on this, right? It's a whole science. If you do the breath work, you do the energy exercises, you do the meditation, you do the fasting, you're eating less, or you're eating more sattvic or lighter, more pranic foods, whatever that is, you will, it's science, right? We'll say you will become more unified to God, to your higher self. That's the science of it. So if you want to know more, an in-depth understanding of the pranic and the breatharian path, I highly suggest reading up on some yogis, reading some biographies of awakened beings from around the world who've been living this path and living this way, because it's been around for thousands of years.
Thousands of years. All we're doing is resurrecting it now, manifesting it to a whole nother level. They carried the message, you know, to give us bits and pieces during what? Fall of consciousness, we should say. Or everybody just kind of went into the ignorance outside of themselves. But in this age we're in now, we're coming back. Because even when I was in Egypt, I got great videos showing you the hieroglyphics, and all I see on there is the same thing that I see in India. They got the same message. So it wasn't just stuck here, like we said, all the different cultures. When I was in Israel dealing with the Kabbalah teachings, they were talking the same thing using different terminologies. So all of it is there, the science dealing with the relationship to the human being with the environment, the relationship to the human being with the cosmos. There's no separation. And keep in mind, science just means knowledge. And in Greek, gnosis is the word for knowledge. And in Hebrew, da'ath is the word for knowledge. So when you get these ancient texts that was written in those different languages, they were talking about the science of the human being. This is the technology.
That's right. And science is also something that's been proven,
right,
peer reviewed, right? So
yep.
In India, you know, they have this method, this whole method, and they say you do this, this, and this, and you can reach enlightenment this way. Because this is basically what breatharianism is, right? It's a path to enlightenment, if we really want to put it out there. And if you do this and this, you're going to reach that state in this lifetime, right? And many people have proven it over and over and over again.
Over and over and over again. Now listen at this. Now the problem is, if we want to say, or the situation people dealing with, and I understand. Of course, if somebody got a hold of you, you understand, and took you somewhere where you could go off somewhere and they worked on you and you submitted yourself, you would come out a different person. Okay? But when you get this message, and I just had to do a teaching on discipline, how a person do got to put some responsibility for themselves, because I understand the situation and where different people are at. You understand? So different people could take a lot longer and all of this, and depending on where you at. But that's what gurus deal with. You got health gurus, you got financial gurus. There is some people, if you submit yourselves to them, they do got the knowledge to take your situation and work with you. But now taking this knowledge, we got the knowledge out here, it's here. But it's about who can incorporate it slowly, start transforming your life. Everybody's path is going to be different, but it should lead to the same road at the end. That's the science of it. At the end, you should be a self-sustaining being.
That's right. And you brought up an interesting point that, yeah, we can look for a guru outside of us, right? And take lots of classes and things like that and gather more information. But until you actually start putting this into practice yourself, you're not going to realize anything, because this is totally experiential. You cannot do what we're doing from reading a book or watching videos. You know, all of that's good and supportive, but you have to be putting in the meditation. You have
absolutely.
I mean, even Yogananda says, hey, if you're going to meditate throughout the day, you know, read a little bit, write a little bit, exercise a little bit, and meditate a lot.
Right. Meditate a lot. Now listen at this. This is to pump people up too, or to tell you what's going on. When I do retreats around the world, you know, the 5-day retreats, 8-day retreats or more, about the 3rd or 4th day, I usually ask people the question, because we're working with each other every day. We're talking it every day and all this other stuff. We're working with the energy work. You're also in a synergy working together. So you're at this place. About the 3rd or 4th day, I ask people, don't you feel that you could be a breatharian? It don't matter if there was a skeptic getting there. They'll kind of look at themselves and say, yeah, because they feel themselves improving, getting better. That's the power of the environment, the power about being consistent with the teachers, especially when you're with other people. And then I'll tell them, even though it'd probably be a 5-day retreat or an 8-day retreat, I say, just think if we was here for 3 months doing this every day, everybody's imagination just explode. Just think if we was here for 6 months, living like this every day. Wow. That's the power of this knowledge. This knowledge is a science and is guaranteed, especially if you're in the right habitat, got the grip of it, and get yourself together.
Exactly, exactly. And I do want to talk a little bit more about environment, because not everybody is able to be in a natural environment that's totally clean and clear. And I want you to know that if you're on this path and you have a home life or work life or something that's stressful and it doesn't feel conducive to the path, still continue with your practices, because what's happening is you're building the energy, you're building the awareness, you're building the consciousness, and you will be amazed that over time, even though you may not be aware of it because of the environment you're in, if you were to leave that environment, let's say, and take a retreat or take yourself camping or something like that, like Elitom mentioned earlier, all of a sudden you'll realize, wow, I no longer have hungers and I am in a different state than I realized I was. I've just made this quantum leap forward.
Now, I'm glad you said that.
I think I just lost the visual on you, Elitom.
Uh-oh.
There you are.
Now listen at this. Now, first of all, I remember I went to the Himalayas and I was teaching this retreat, and a lot of people say, you only could do that if you was in an environment like the Himalayas. And I said, no. When I was in the Himalayas during the retreat, it was what people living in the Himalayas. I was teaching them how to be breatharian, but I became a breatharian from the West in a small town called Akron, Ohio, in an urban city. So that goes to show you that the Himalayas ain't got nothing to do with it. It's a beautiful place, and I'm going back there since I'm close. But do not think that for one iota. Now, what she was saying about don't wait till you get into a total good environment, start where you at right now. So what I had to do, I was living in this, basically the hood, but I started to understand meditation. That didn't stop it. Even though I was living in this poor neighborhood, that didn't stop me to have a responsibility about what I'm gonna put in my mouth. Those things I had to get a grip of. And even though I was living in an urban city, there was a track right down the street. I walked down there, and every evening I was walking around that track. It did not stop me working on myself and my health improvement. It overrode everything. Now this is where it gets good on your perception of thought. I started this community center. Once I got to a certain degree, I wanted to help other people who was more in the ghetto. So I started a community center in the ghetto. And I started doing my energy work, cleaning it out. There was people who used to come all around from different cities, used to come to, to the classes. They didn't even know that was the ghetto. That's how powerful the energy was. The energy was so powerful, they didn't know that was a poverty neighborhood because they was coming for the knowledge. And then I got to the point I was traveling. Somebody said, well, Elitom, this is a bad neighborhood. I didn't know it was a bad neighborhood till they told me. You on a whole nother wavelength on how you're looking at life. It's a perception. But that's where you get to a point where you look at things differently. You resurrect it.
That's right. Right. Well, you're holding a whole different frequency, and you're going to perceive things that's going to match your frequency, and you're going to draw things to you also that will match.
Right.
Resonate,
I was even at this one beach here in India, Juhu Beach. I love it. And I'm glad that I got this location, this place right near the beach. Oh man, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm here at this high energy. I could be here every day. But there's one girl come up to me. This is the perception. Why would you move here and you're from America? You can have other places that she was looking at. You should be spending more money being in a Marriott over there that's way in the middle of the city. I said, this is the place with the high energy, but that's the perception. This is a whole nother ball game. So once your perception starts changing, you look at life differently and you really find the true energies of life, because that's what's nourishing you and that's what get you on key. But it's a whole perception change again of the resurrection. But I hope that this gets to you, no matter what situation you at, you start with the tool you got now, as the creation gets no punishment, if you look at it as a bad situation, not at all. It knows you're powerful enough to get out of it. That's your training ground. Oh, go ahead.
No, all of that is really amazing. It's true. And, you know, as you continue on this path, you realize that you kind of start craving natural, cleaner environments more and more. Like,
Right.
Tom, like you could be in the Marriott, but you would prefer to be out by the water. And you'll notice that for yourself as you step into this path. You realize, oh, it's not that the place doesn't resonate with you. You no longer resonate with it.
Right.
And
that's what it's dealing with.
Yeah, and you want to find environments that actually resonates with you. And it's not something you
Right.
have to do. You don't have to say, oh, I'm going to be a breatharian, therefore I have to live in the forest or I have to live in the desert. It's not like that. It's as you're on the path and all of a sudden you start realizing, oh, this environment no longer suits me. This other one might be better. Maybe I might want to live in a smaller town, or maybe I might want to have a place to myself, or, you know, whatever it is. It could be anything. Or maybe I don't want to even have a home. Maybe I travel around like what you do, because you do find that your needs and all your hungers, all of them really do fall away. And that includes even your desire to own things, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Talking about this electricity going up your spinal cord or God, and it's gotten more heightened. It's a higher frequency. Now, one of the 7 Hermetic laws say it's the law of vibration. And what it says is the higher vibration has the power to change a lower vibration or transmute it. So therefore, even when you're in different environments that seem like a lower vibration, the vibration is coming off of you. Everybody will be glad you're around here. You're like the light walking in darkness. You're making everybody else happy. You're picking up the whole environment around you.
It's absolutely.
That's why you don't see it no more.
Yeah, you just resonate this beautiful energy. And, you know, the yogis are talked about like that, right? It's someone who's enlightened, someone who has this beautiful cosmic energy, and it's just the energy of pure love is really what it is, and it feels magnetic. And that's why Yogananda talks about lightening your diet and your mental diet. What are you feeding your mind with? You know, what kind of news are you watching? What are you reading? That kind of stuff. So it's lightening everything up and doing all of these exercises and routines, and you're creating more magnetism for yourself. And not only does that feed others, but it also draws things to you that's in alignment with source energy, that it's in alignment with your higher self. So you start noticing synchronicities. You're thinking the same things other people are who are also in alignment. You can manifest. You think of something and it just appears, and your wants and your needs are just available to you, and everything becomes easy and flowy and totally tuned in.
This body is the highest science and technology you have access to.
That's right.
Oh man, this is good. That's why it's a science. The highest science and technology you have access to. And like we said earlier, get rid of the toxicity out of the body, you'll magnetize things to you quicker. It'll start changing your thoughts, these positive things, and you start living a life as a miracle.
Right.
It's really no miracle no more. Everybody else saying it like it's miracles or testimonies. You know what it is. It's you. You living your dream come true.
Yeah, we even did a talk, remember? I think it's on our channel here, called Breatharian Miracles, where the miracles are the natural state of being when you're in this lifestyle. It's not this amazing thing that happens once in a while. No, it happens all the time. I mean, it's our birthright to live in a state of constant miracles and bliss and happiness. Like, that is actually what we are. So it's back to ourselves, our true nature.
Oh man, this is so wonderful. So again, we hope that the people that's listening to this really will, no matter where you at, start where you at. Don't look at the big picture of not eating like so many people do. Just think of health, being whole, step by step, how you feel, and just stay on that path and just keep tweaking it as it goes. And then these other doors start opening up. We call them spiritual doorways, but they're energetic doorways. You'll be able to see more, see further, see where you need to go next, because you're under good hands. The universe is user-friendly, and it will help you and guide you on what you need to do to better yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you realize that you are the universe. I mean, that becomes so clear to you when you're on this path that there is really no difference. And what you
No
think, what
difference.
happens around you, it's all like this incredible, you know, people call it the web, but I think of it more, it's hard, it's so hard to articulate. It's like, it's just your energy and everything around you energy. And you just realize you're all just energy in this field of existence that has density to it, you know?
All one with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. And the more you meditate on this, it'll change each time. This just ain't a thought you just catch today and say, I got it.
No.
You got to work continually.
Yeah, because what we're talking about now, it's just concepts, right? So yeah, you can intellectually, you know, grasp it, but until you put it into practice and start to feel it, you will not fully understand it. And
right.
meditation is the foundation. It really is. And I would also like to mention that we referenced Yogananda quite a bit today. He was not a breatharian. He obviously really liked to eat. But if he wanted to be, he could.
Right.
Because he was a fully enlightened being. He was just a beautiful human. I know he had lots of magnetism and a wonderful following. And I love Yogananda. So when you're on this path, you can choose to eat or not, right? But I do find that the less you eat, the easier it is to tap into this. And this is why I like breatharianism, because it makes the yogic, you know, lifestyle accessible to modern man, right?
Right, and it's needed right now.
It's needed.
For those who want it, it's needed.
Yeah.
If you don't want it, that's okay.
Right. Because before you'd have to be a yogi, you'd have to go to a cave, you'd have to sit under a tree, you'd have to live this exclusive life or be like this Catholic saints and be in a monastery somewhere, right? But now it's saying, hey, you can do this in your home right now, wherever you are, and work towards it. This is the modern version of what we're talking about, breatharianism.
This is it, all the way live, and it can be done by anybody with the right equipped with the right tools, the knowledge, and the consistency. And your willpower, if you say, I got weak willpower is like a muscle. Just hang in there and you will grow. This is what it's all about.
Yeah. And that's why mantras are nice, because you can mantra your way into a new sense of willpower. You know what I mean? Using affirmation, just talking.
You're talking yourself into it.
Right, exactly. You do.
Remember that little train I could? I think I can. I think I can. I know I can. I know I can. That's what we're doing.
Yep. Oh, and
you
then
talk to yourself.
You think you can, you know you can, and then I am.
I am.
I am.
Without a shadow of a doubt, you know. And that's what they mean by self-realization. Nobody else can tell you. You now know. Oh, man, this is so awesome.
It is.
Oh, you got to love it. So again, this has been wonderful. And we got more great talks coming up. And we're really got the show rolling here.
Always.
Giving out the knowledge, the bits and pieces, the kernels that people need in order to grow step by step. Because like we said, this knowledge now is needed more than ever in humanity right now. That's why it's here.
Yeah.
They ain't here from me or Shana. It's here from what? Creation itself. It knows who we are. That's the big brother right there.
It
right.
Is, you know, it is here now. And I really, truly believe that this is the way of the future. This is why so many people are so interested. This is the way of the future. Imagine a whole world that is pranic, right? Most of the garbage that's created in this world is from food. You know, most of the environmental impact is from food, you know, food production. And if a lot of that was eliminated, or if all of it was eliminated, it would have a huge impact positively on our planet. And not just that, this is a path of peace and love and calm and balance. And when you're in that state, and we're talking like potential world peace here. I mean, it's a big, big thing that we're talking about. It starts within and growing, and it is the way of the future. I truly believe that.
Right. Will we study war no more? You don't need to study war because there's abundance for everybody.
Yeah. Abundance and peace and bliss and happiness. And it's so wonderful. It's such a great lifestyle. I mean, every day I'm like, wow, I'm so excited. This is so amazing, just being alive.
Oh my gosh. Wonderful to be alive.
Yeah.
So once again, I'm up here feeding off the rays, you're feeding where you're at, and we're on two different parts of the world.
That's
but
right.
the prana, the life force energy is still there.
That's right. Yeah, we're 12 hours apart. So you've got sunshine and I've got starlight, and the frogs just started singing out back.
Right. They're singing.
Yeah.
They're happy to live.
They are. They are. Anyway,
Oh man, this is good.
what a great talk. Thank you so much. And I really hope this inspires a lot of people. And again, I encourage you to look up some yogic tradition and philosophy if you are interested in that side of this. But they've done so much research, India and a lot of these gorgeous countries that have used meditation as the foundation, because that's what we're talking about. Meditation is truly the foundation of this life.
Absolutely. So once again, we'll get with y'all again. And it's good talking to you again, Shana.
Yes, you too. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Love you.
Love you.